We are 9 episodes into this series. We've only got 4 episodes left for them to wrap it up. What is this season about? Can you tell me what this season is about? I think there's things it's supposed to be about. I don't know what it's actually about.
It's the sandwich metaphor again. It's about rebuilding and reparation in some way. It's about like repairing things and learning to work together. I would say that's the general theme of it. There have been episodes that have done that lightly. The problem is that it's the backbone of its narrative has been so weak that nothing feels connected to each other. And it just feels like sort of random events happening down the line. And so they're going to stumble into the solution. I would guess that's what the theme is. And it's not like it's hidden or it's not like it's an interesting take on that, but it's just, it's about fixing what's broken, even though we found the Federation that it's not even that bad. Like the Federation is just limited in what it can do. It's not like it's like changed its attitude towards anything.
That's the thing, is like it's supposed to be about rebuilding the Federation, but they never show us why that needs to happen.
Nothing's fundamentally wrong with the Federation, except for the fact that there's no dilithium. And
there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the galaxy without the Federation.
Right. The Orions or whatever are now slightly larger.
Even there. How are they a threat? I don't know. They don't seem to be much of a threat. The Federation seems to be keeping an eye on them, but it's not like they've got any world-destroying weapon or anything. You know, they just kind of seem like a bunch of assholes who are on the fringe that they can't quite get a handle on, who aren't directly threatening the Federation. Is it about the burn? What happens when we find out what caused the burn? Does that change anything other than just answering a question?
That's got a lot riding on it, right? Like the explaining the burn has to explain, like solving the problem of the burn as we've laid it out does not explain anything about the universe at this point. Like just figuring out what happened to the burn is going to be incredibly convoluted if that leads into some sort of like greater understanding of the universe. Because at this point, it's just a thing that happened. And it would be as life-altering as figuring out what truly killed JFK. You know, it would be interesting. You'd be like, oh, that's kind of neat that happened. But it changes nothing in the present tense of like what our world is today, what that means.
Right. Just too much time has passed for it to really amount to anything.
Right.
And even there, it's another situation where it's like you're spending a lot of time trying to figure this out. Nobody else seems to be working towards this goal. You're claiming it's a big deal, but nobody else seems to give a shit to the point where they're actively trying to figure it out. And you have proven that getting the pieces to figure it out, not that hard.
Right. It's just that's why I'm like when they get to the burn, like this is where the series sits for me. If the burn revelation is the greatest revelation I have ever seen narratively, right? Everything leading up to it is only damaging the impact of when it gets to it. So if this is like the most amazing thing I've ever seen, when it happens, I'm just going to react and go, pretty good ending to a terrible season. Like it's so stacked against it that this revelation is going to mean anything or be any kind of powerful, eye-opening change on the season that has come before it is nil. There's no way it can muster that kind of gravitas for me at this point. So now I'm just getting to the point of a lot of Discovery seasons where I'm impatient. I'm like, I wish there weren't 4 episodes left. I wish this was the last one next time so we could just end this.
Yeah. I don't. It's much like. I mean, it's weird because when we started the season, my thought on the burn was, okay, this seems to be like a background thing that isn't really going to get a lot of time. Maybe they don't even bother solving it at all, and they just kind of move forward from this. Very clearly was not that as the show went on, and it became all about solving this problem. and it ends up being less interesting and therefore most likely less satisfying than the Red Angel revelation was, just because nothing that has happened in the show is really riding on it.
No,
at least with the Red Angel.
Imagine if the burn was just dilithium ran out. You know, like imagine if it was just, there wasn't some magical event that destroyed it. It was just like, we don't have warp capability anymore because we used up all the fuel. And there wasn't a mystery attached to it. Nothing changes in this season. Like the resolution, whatever they figure out to be the resolution is not going to change unless there's some kind of, we go back in time and all the dilithium doesn't explode. And then it's like, well, who fucking cares about that? Like, it's stupid.
Right. It just blows my mind. It still continually blows my mind that you set up your season, that you're in the future, and faster than light travel has gone away because of some magical, everything blew up at the same time, so nobody can travel past warp 1 or whatever. And the central element of your fucking show is a ship that can travel faster than warp speed, and you put that into the world where no one can travel faster than warp speed, and nobody cares.
They have mild interest. Let's be fair. They have mild interest about how the Vulcans are like, how did you get here so fast? Interesting.
Yeah. It's like if you took a Mad Max movie and had Max show up driving just like a gigantic fuel tanker full of gas.
Yeah.
And just goes through the movie doing whatever the story is of the movie, and no one bats an eye at the fact that even though everybody is hurting for gas, Max drives a gas truck.
Yeah.
You know?
Everyone in this universe should be reacting like Archer in that episode where he's like, how fast do you go? How fast do you go? And that ship that was like warp 6 and the Enterprise can only go warp 5.
God. Could you imagine the season if it was the Federation and the Vulcan Romulan Alliance and the Orion Syndicate all vying for like control of Discovery and what that means, and Discovery's trying to navigate that while also making a case for the Federation to come back? That would have been great.
Yeah.
But we got to find out. We got to find out who dropped their cigarette in the woods and burned California down.